money is a four-dimensional medium of exchange. Over space when you trade with other people, a medium of exchange over time when you trade with your future self.
Listening to the Booth series, I heard him say for the first time the natural state of a free market is deflation. I remember pulling my phone out of my pocket and pausing it and being like, wait a second.
If you denominate in Bitcoin, you can see how much they steal.
Yeah.
You can see how beautiful the world could have been. It's such a wonderful, lovely little mindfuck. Regulation always favors the big guy. People from those companies lobby for that regulation because it drives out the competition, and that's why monopolies form. There's nothing wrong with hierarchies. Humans like to have a leader.
I have somewhat of a concern that Bitcoin is going to extend Fiat's runway.
I wish that more and more individuals would acquire Bitcoin. I just don't buy that humans cannot organize without violence. There are plenty of big systems that work entirely without violence, the internet being the most obvious example.
All right, Knut. So Robert's out of town. So selfishly, I got you all to myself. So I wanted to get a little bit more of an understanding about who you are and how you got into Bitcoin and what brought you to become an author and Bitcoin philosopher.
Oh, that's a that's a long story to tell.
Yeah, it was my understanding you were a captain.
Yeah, I have a background in shipping, specifically sailing. I sailed a tall ship for many years.
Yeah,
and several tall ships actually. But the main gig was 8 years on a tall ship with a class of high school students on board.
Okay.
And that's when I visited Florida for the first time. Like we were in Tampa a couple of times and in Miami a couple of times.
Yes.
Yeah. And after that, I had a career in an offshore wind crew transfer vessel shipping company.
Wild.
So first as a skipper on one of these small catamarans because I needed a job closer to home. After I started a family.
Which was in Sweden?
Yeah. Well, the company was located in Sweden. It was like a Swedish-Danish company, and the wind farms were in the Baltic Sea and the North Sea, mostly. So I still, still traveled a lot. But instead of being away for 8 weeks, I was away for 2 weeks, which was much more manageable.
Yeah,
with the family.
So sailing in the Baltic Sea, I would imagine those are treacherous waters.
Nah, the Baltic Sea is pretty calm, I'd say.
Okay.
North Sea, on the other hand, those are treacherous waters for sure.
Yeah, okay. And then how did you go from being a sailor to now an author writing about Bitcoin?
So my last Fiat job, I had a bit of a career in this offshore wind company. Mm-hmm. It ended up in the... I figured I might as well try to work in the office for a while and ran into the owner of the company at one of the sites, and he had an opening in the HR department. So I started there, and I ended up as the crewing manager or HR manager for the entire thing. So I had 230 employees to take care of.
That's
and
fun,
little team of coordinators and stuff. And which sounds like a super boring job, I guess, to many, but there was a lot of problem solving involved. These were, seamen on Swedish and Danish contracts, different types of ships, and we had to coordinate a lot and like make sure that all the ships were manned at all times and stuff.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, it's a challenging job. But,
yes.
And when I had the most stressful period of that, and when I had the most amount of stuff to do every day, that's when I wrote the first book, because I couldn't turn off the brain after.
You got the mind virus. Yeah.
So well, it's actually at one of these wind farm sites. Some of the days, like if it was too windy, we didn't do anything. Because these small vessels, if the waves were like above a meter high, we couldn't do anything because you couldn't moor to they moored with the front to the concrete foundation of the wind turbine.
Okay.
There's a metal ladder there where the riggers climbed up to the turbine. And we couldn't do that if the waves were too high.
Yeah, that makes sense.
On those days, we just did fuck all and sat in a cabin somewhere in Denmark or Germany. And that's where I started writing the articles.
Okay.
And sometimes,
what year was this?
2016, 17, something.
Yep.
So I took an online course because in how Bitcoin worked, where Andreas Antonopoulos was one of the teachers.
Yes.
This was in 2016, and thought about taking the full master's degree in digital currencies, in plural.
Yes.
But didn't do that. It costed a lot of money, and I'm not going to spend money on another education. I feel I know enough about this to do something with it, and I didn't really know what to do with it. And then I started out of pure boredom on the job. To write articles about it. And one of the articles got sort of semi-viral. This was during the Blocksize Wars. There's an article about how to actually take control of your private keys.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of talk about that. Like if you're gonna, when the Bitcoin Cash fork happened, in the months leading up to that, a lot of Bitcoiners were saying you should sell the fork as soon as it happens. And in order to do that, you needed control over your Bitcoin and not just have them on a custodial wallet.
Yes.
So I needed to figure that out for myself. And then I wrote an article about it. And that got a lot of attention.
So when the block size wars were taking place, did you already have an understanding that by increasing the block size, you would decrease security by making it harder to run a node? Yeah, that was very clear.
In my opinion, the war was never about block size, but always about control. And I followed this, I was intrigued by it and hypnotized by it. What is this thing? And I saw then the New York agreement when that whole thing happened. The biggest companies in Bitcoin all colluded together to do first implement SegWit as a soft fork, and then increase the block size to 2 megabytes per block instead of 1. Double the block size.
Yep.
But that never happened because the users, the node runners, said no. They all signaled that we're not going to do this. And then a couple of miners started signaling that too, and then all the other miners followed suit and no, we're not going to do this.
So this was obvious to you, and you were paying attention when it was happening.
Yeah. And it's so cool to see how things have developed after. I mean, BTC Pay Server was one of the big things that happened. Before that, there was a service called BitPay, which was super centralized, and that was one of the companies that wanted the block size increase.
Okay.
Because they wanted control.
Yeah.
Because eventually, if you set the precedent in Bitcoin for doing a hard fork or for increasing the block size or whatever, then what's to stop that from happening over and over again?
Good point.
And that's that kind of logic. I just saw that because it was the same for me with the shitcoins. I never shitcoined. Because what intrigued me about Bitcoin in the first place was that here was this thing that couldn't be copied on the internet. And how the hell did that work? And it still blows my mind that there's a thing that cannot be copied. Later down the line, I figured out that the reason it can't be copied is because it's not on the internet, but it's in your head.
Yes.
But we can get into the depths of that later. But anyway, I saw this dangerous path with setting the precedent for increasing it again. And then when that didn't happen, despite all the money wanting it to happen, all the big companies wanting it to happen, I realized that, holy shit, this is actually working. It actually is. It is as decentralized as the people promoting it is saying it is.
Yeah.
So my sort of belief in Bitcoin became ironclad at that point.
That's incredible. Yeah, I discovered Bitcoin in 2017 in December, right at the peak.
Yeah.
And I met somebody who was like, kind of explaining how big of a deal it was. I had heard about Bitcoin, but I had my, head down. I was working really hard. It was a month before I received my license from the state of California for my cannabis farm.
Oh, yeah.
And in some sense, I was very fortunate that I was like pretty much broke at the time. All of my money was tied up in this business, and I had spent a bunch of money on attorneys and regulators, engineers to like go through the process. And so when I discovered Bitcoin, I remember like that first day, I had like $500 or $1,000 extra dollars, and I get onto Coinbase, and there's Bitcoin Cash, and then all this other garbage. And I'm looking at these charts and I'm looking at the volatility. I'm like, okay, you could trade this thing. I was like, I can't trade any of this stuff. Like, I don't have time to pay attention to any of this. So I find it to be very fascinating when I talk to people who understood Bitcoin and then were able to like not get sucked into the shitcoin siren call.
Yeah, because that was that call was loud. I mean, there were so many people like thinking that trading these things between one another was the thing. Like that was being promoted hard by shitcoiners and shitcoin apologists, and still is to this day, I'd say.
Yeah,
and there are still people that fall for it. But yeah, it's not entirely true that I never shitcoined. I put the enormous amount of $10 into shitcoins.
I love it.
$1 into each 10 separate shitcoins. 8 of them lost money and 2 made money. So on the whole, I lost money. I was looking at the screen and like, I'm never going to figure out which of these shitty things is going up. And I don't have any insider information. I don't know this shit.
Yeah.
So like, no, it's Bitcoin. Like, it's obvious. Like, just stick to that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was fortunate by the time, so when I discovered Bitcoin, that really reframed my perspective on the world, like for so many of us. It was the catalyst to cause me to sell my business, which took me a year because cannabis farms aren't very liquid. So I had like, it was like a whole thing. And by the time I did, it was 2 things. One, Bitcoin made sense to me. The rest of it, I couldn't understand. Somebody was trying to explain to me the value proposition for Ethereum. And even to this day, and maybe I'm just so jaded or I'm like such a hardcore laser-eyed maxi that there's maybe just a cognitive dissonance. I refuse to accept the idea that there is value in this, but I still can't wrap my mind around any of it. It's like, Robert talks about this. They're like, it's innovation theater. I don't know what problem any of these blockchains are solving.
No, they're scams.
Yeah.
I truly believe that like anyone who says that 99% of them are scams is a scammer.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you go full? Why don't you say 100? Like, why do you leave room for 1 or 2? Like,
that's
it's because you probably have a vested interest somewhere.
Yeah, and there's a lot of Bitcoin maxis, but I've never heard of a Solana maxi. I don't know anybody who's got 100%, crypto person that has a 100% allocation to anything other than Bitcoin.
Well, the Bitcoin Cash people, I guess.
Yeah, but even then, like we were just talking about Roger Ver earlier, he popped up because it's just like, oh man, what a wild individual he is.
Yeah, I don't want to speculate too much, but I think there's a chance that he lied to himself and that he like kept doubling down. I mean, there are psychological traps to fall into in this whole thing when you like refuse to take your ego out of the equation and take a step back and like learn your lesson.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, there are still things to this day that aren't super clear, like the whole operator debate.
Yes.
It's not like super easy to know what side to be on in that.
I'm with you on that one.
Because the problem is clear. Like, this is spam. Everyone thinks it's shit, and that it's if we can do anything to prevent it, we should.
Yeah.
But there's also like some people are saying, no, we can't prevent it. All we can do is make it easier for them to do it in a way that is less destructive. And the other side is saying, no, we should try to prevent it as much as possible.
Yeah.
I'm on that side, by the way, if I'm taking a side in it. And I think it's a very good thing. Like, even if this plays out in a way that I wouldn't prefer. I still think it's very good for Bitcoin to have these internal things, because it's educating people just to be forced to thinking in other ways and to like pick a side if you want, or to like learn about it. Forces people to learn more, and that's always good.
Yeah. For me personally, I guess, and maybe this is like a fear-based perspective, which I really try to avoid, but I'm like, can we just not mess it up? Like, this is so important. I mean, we have bombs flying around like recently. Like, can we just not fuck this up?
Yeah. But like, I think there's a discrepancy. Like there's people who know computers and programming and software. And then there's people who know money. And the Venn diagram, like you want the Bitcoiners to have be in the middle of that Venn diagram, right?
Yeah.
But some of the computer people aren't, and some of the money people aren't, because some of the computer people don't really understand that money needs to be money only and nothing else, first and foremost. And some of the money people don't understand that Bitcoin is like a shared database. You can put whatever data you want into it. Like, it's not that simple to just steer it into whatever direction you want. Like, there are other forces at play here. And I find the whole thing endlessly fascinating still.
Yes.
The thing I'd like to say, like maybe a perspective that isn't discussed very much, is like one of the problems Bitcoin solves is right now, real estate is being used as a store of value.
Yep.
And when it is, real estate becomes a worse. The main function of real estate, housing human beings, it becomes worse at that.
Yes.
Because the billionaires buy up all the beachfront property, and then the little guy can't get in, can't buy his own home.
Right.
But the same is true for money. If money is all of a sudden clogged with stupid monkey JPEG pictures and idiot tokens,
right,
then its functionality as a medium of exchange is reduced.
That's a very good point.
So that's why we need to take the fight for money to be money, and Bitcoin is the best money humanity has ever seen by far.
Orders of magnitude.
Orders of magnitude. So, and not ordinals of magnitude. So, like, that's why.
Not
that's
ordinals. God,
so that's why we should. Anyone with that sees the true potential of Bitcoin should be at least engaged in this fight. No matter what side you choose to pick, this should concern you. Mm-hmm. So that's how I feel about that. By the way, I think the whole dichotomy between store of value and medium of exchange is false. It's the wrong way to look at it. I think money is a medium of exchange over time and space. So it's a 4-dimensional medium of exchange. It's a medium of exchange over space when you trade with your friends, or not with your friends, because you don't need to trade with your friends. You can just I'm off on a tangent as usual.
I love it.
That's why KYC is bullshit, because money allows you to trade with people you don't trust. Yeah. So it's a medium of exchange over space when you trade with other people, a medium of exchange over time when you trade with your future self. So that's what saving is. It's trading with your future self.
I love that. Yeah. That's well put.
Yeah.
iCoin Technology has released a slick new hardware wallet. It looks like a mini iPhone with a high-res 3-inch touchscreen and camera on it. The device has no Wi-Fi, no cellular connection, and no GPS. It is an air-gapped hardware wallet which uses QR codes and a camera to communicate with the Bitcoin network. It has a built-in camera, which is required for air-gap operation, and it has an optional Bluetooth compatibility. It's really a brand new user interface and user experience for a Bitcoin hardware wallet. iCoin makes self-custody accessible, easy to use, and non-intimidating. It even comes with an optional custom iCoin thermal printer, so you can print out the private key and its associated QR code when you're setting up the wallet. This makes setup quick and simple. Also, it is easy to restore the wallet just by reading the seed phrase QR code with the wallet camera. And as we always talk about on this show, the only way you can truly own your Bitcoin is by having it in self-custody. So you need a device like the iCoin wallet to truly own your Bitcoin. So go to iCointechnology.com/breedlove today for 30% off the purchase of this sleek new hardware wallet. Again, that's iCointechnology.com/breedlove technology.com/breedlove. If you're anything like me, you understand that Bitcoin is something we can use every day to connect, to collaborate, and to build stronger, freer communities. As true Bitcoiners, you all know we are each responsible for onboarding more Bitcoiners. That's why I chose to partner with Cowbolt, an expense splitting app that settles in Bitcoin. It can be as simple as splitting a dinner bill. Your friend covers dinner and you reimburse them, but you send it back to him in Bitcoin. Now your friend has their first sats, and as I always say, where your money goes, the mind follows. By using Cowbolt to get Bitcoin into the hands of your friends and family, you can help us orange pill the world. Cowbolt is built to let you split costs, share expenses, and settle instantly, while always keeping full control of your keys. Cowbolt is simple, social, non-custodial, exactly how Bitcoin was meant to be used. If you're serious about Bitcoin, it's time to act like it. Download Cowbolt today on iOS or Android. To learn more, go to cowbolt.com. Again, that's Cowbolt, COWBOLT.com.
Okay, and then so going back, I mean, gosh, there's so much there we could talk about, and we'll get there. I find it to be quite fascinating, and I appreciate your perspective. So the first book you wrote is Infinity Divided by 21 Million, or this one?
No, Everything Divided by 21 Million is the third book, actually.
Is the third book?
Yes. So there were two books before that are not as well known. And the first one is called Sovereignty Through Mathematics.
Okay.
And the story there is when I wrote these articles in 2017, I decided to put them together into a book just to see what the process of publishing a book was like. And I did that. And then that was the only book I had to my name on the internet. And I wasn't very proud of it. It's just a semi-crappy collection of some shitty articles.
Oh, I'm sure it was probably pretty good listening to you talk and think about all of this, but yeah.
So I decided to write a proper book, and that became Sovereignty Through Mathematics.
Okay.
So I wrote a page a day the plan was to write for the entire year, 1 page a day. It's a sort of New Year's resolution. But I got bored with it after 106 days, so I broke my resolution as you do, and I published this little pamphlet/book called Sovereignty Through Mathematics. And nobody gave a shit about it until I brought 50 copies in my hand luggage to Baltic Honey Badger in Riga 2019.
Okay.
And there I sold 25, and I gave 25 away to important Bitcoiners. And then that sort of started to form a life of its own, that book, and got a lot more attention.
Yeah.
And ended up on MicroStrategy's hope.com, or they're not called MicroStrategy anymore.
Yep.
But yeah.
Sailor's website.
Yeah, when
hope.com.
Sailor got into the scene, all of a sudden I get a DM from him. I really liked your book. I'm putting it on my website. And I'm like, oh.
Wow. Yeah.
So, but that was later down the line. Before that, I wrote a follow-up to Sovereignty Through Mathematics called Independence Reimagined.
Uh-huh.
And then I wrote an article with the sentence, imagine everything there is and everything that ever will be divided by 21 million. And that article turned into a video. Joni Appelberg made a video from it.
Uh-huh.
And that video sort of took off, and that's where that famous equation comes from. And all of a sudden, that equation was all over the internet.
I put it almost on every single one of my replies or posts on Twitter to this day. It's one of my favorites. Infinity Divided by 21 Million. I love it so much.
And people put it to their handles, and I have a subfolder in my Everything Divided Pictures folder on my computer with tattoos. So there's about 30 pictures of people around the world who have the equation tattooed into their bodies.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It was a surreal thing when that happened. So that's why I decided to write that book. I must be the guy to write the book with that title. Right?
Yeah.
And I had more Bitcoin material in my head. So I decided to quit my Fiat job and move down to our holiday home in Spain. And 1 or 2 weeks after we had moved down, I get a DM from Jeff Booth, who's traveling around Europe with his family, and like, hi, can I come around and visit you?
What year was this? Was it like 2019, 2020?
Must have, oh, that's a good question. Must have been 2020.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, so he does, and he gave me some very good advice about the book, and wrote the foreword, and we released that one, and I brought it along here to here in Miami in 2022
For the conference,
for the
Bitcoin
conference.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's also like this is like the tail end of COVID, or the Novid.
Novid.
That's great.
I love that.
So the first conference I went to was a conference in Mexico, where I met a lot of great people. Like in hindsight, that's a super based conference, and that's also where I got the idea for the Bitcoin Infinity Day. Like we could make this into the infinity sign sort of looks like an 8, and Americans write dates the other way around. So 8/21 actually means 21st of August.
Okay.
So I pitched the idea on a pod, and a week after that, Fractal Encrypt had made this beautiful. You've seen the little placard with the infinity keys on it, and then that thing became a big thing too.
Yeah.
So there's a whole story behind that. So yeah, I mean, I couldn't have, in my wildest dreams, I couldn't have imagined any of this. It's just been such a wild ride. I keep pinching myself because of all the weird stuff that keeps happening.
I know exactly what you mean. I'm feeling that now. Even just sitting here having this conversation with you. And so how did you have that epiphany aha moment? Because the first time I heard that, I had already been like going down the rabbit hole for a couple of years, and it was like, it just blew my mind. I'm like, yes, that if the thesis stands true and Bitcoin succeeds, then everything that we'll ever make forever, as long as Bitcoin exists, we're going to be dividing that by 21 million.
Yeah. Then again, like, it's important to point out that money is not a measuring stick. Like, you can't measure value, since value is subjective and dynamic. What you can do is signal value through prices. But still, like, I think what I do, like, when I talk to Luke, my podcast co-host, about what it is we actually do in the space, like, what are we? Like, are we influencers, or are we? Am I an author or educator? What is it that we do? We're not really orange pillars, I think, because like I don't think people find Bitcoin through me. But what we are conviction deepeners.
I like that.
So I think the thing that I do that comes natural is to whenever there's a thought, I tend to extrapolate the thought vector into the extreme.
Okay.
So I guess that's how I came up with the idea of everything divided by 21 million. It's just like, what happens then? Well, it must be everything, like forever. Like,
yeah.
It like goes to infinity.
It just blows the mind too. It's really hard to wrap the mind around. But also at the same time, if you understand Bitcoin, then in some sense, it's also obvious, kind of.
Yeah. Then again, I don't think things will be infinitely valuable. It's just that prices can actually go down forever, and it's good for absolutely everyone on the planet. It's literally every single person working for everyone else. Like, it's just...
It breaks the brain, because we're conditioned to think that like inflation is a natural thing. Like it's just a law of
inflation
nature.
Inflation is the greatest lie ever told.
Yes, it really is.
And you can see it all around you. Like, if you just go into a 7-Eleven or something, just a supermarket, and you see all the stuff that's in there. And some of these supermarkets sell like shoes and bags and stuff also. Why? How can they do that? What's the? It's because all the stuff in the world is already in fiat land, almost infinitely cheap to produce.
Yes.
And ship.
Yeah.
So like all prices are trending to zero marginal cost, like, and production costs. And so why shouldn't everyone be able to tap into that? The only reason is that some people have kidnap the whole system, and they are able to manipulate it. And and this has gone on for such a long time and so many generations that we've never had money with a fixed supply before. So no human being has ever experienced that. So that, I guess that's why it's so hard to think outside the box. And you know how normies are. It's very hard for them to deprogram them when it comes to the concept of money.
Yeah.
Like, but then I could sell my Bitcoin like 2 years down the line and buy a Porsche. Like, you're missing the point, dude.
Totally.
Like, what I foresee is like people becoming less and less materialistic.
Yeah.
But more and more quality oriented and like just better. In every sense.
Yeah, I remember the first time I was listening to, I was actually the Booth series.
Yeah.
And when Jeff, I was like, so I had my headphones in, I was working, I was by myself, and I heard him say for the first time, the natural state of a free market is deflation. I remember pulling my phone out of my pocket and pausing it and being like, wait a second. And it's like new neural pathways are like wiring. It was like a psilocybin trip or something. I got this cerebral feeling. I was like, hold on. And I rewound it and I listened again. The natural state of the free market is deflation. I'm like, wait, so how does that work? Supply satiates demand. We're making more of what people want. As that happens in real terms, the value is going to fall. But we're measuring the value in this from this Keynesian economic Ponzi scheme lie of a system. And so is the house that I'm sitting in going up in value, or is it going down in value, or is it staying in value? I don't know, because it's the algebraic equation is not complete. How many monetary units are in the system that I'm using to measure this thing? And it just like completely like blew my mind. And at that time I was going through the regulatory, I just finished going through the regulatory process, sold my farm, and I had watched the value of the commodity that I had been producing rapidly decline. Yeah. Not because the state messed it up with regulation or people overproduced. It's because supply was satiating demand, and that large margin was a large beacon of opportunity, or that was something that the entrepreneurs could go and attack. There's supply. You could satiate that supply with demand. The value is going to go down. Yeah. Blew my mind. And then, okay, we have this fixed monetary unit. There's a 21 million hard cap. Money essentially should have infinite demand. Everybody on planet Earth is going to want money because it can get you whatever you want. Yeah. If you compare true scarcity with infinite demand, now you have the apex monetary instrument. And it's like,
it's so, when you see it, it's so clear and so obvious. Like, it's super obvious. It's the law of diminishing marginal utility. Like the first unit of any good or service is always more valuable to you than the subsequent units. Like, it's like, and I like to like ask the simplest questions I can. Like, so if a person practices doing something, if a human being practices doing something, do they usually get better or worse at doing that thing?
Better.
Yes. So why aren't all prices going down forever?
I love
it's that simple. Like, they should be, because we get better at stuff. We get better at stuff at an insane rate. We got AIs now. Like, we can ask Grok or Chat GPT for literally anything and have an answer in seconds. Like, imagine if that productivity gain had gone into the pockets of every person on Earth instead of just the stupid warmongering money printing class. Like, it's so good, and like the free market is such a great force in the positive direction. So it is, the free market is battling fiat. Like, we are fighting back. It can be hard to see, but like I think when you see it from this perspective, you really value every single human being and all they do every day. Like, just buying and selling stuff, goods and services for their own needs, they all contribute. They all make the world better. We're all entrepreneurs. We're all capitalists. We're all consumers. We're all laborers. these are modes of action. They're not like permanent. There is no evil capitalist taking all the money. Like if you save anything, you're a capitalist. Like if you delay gratification, like even if you put the milk in the fridge and choose not to drink it until the day after, you're a capitalist. Like so.
I like that. Yeah, and it's the harder things get for the average individual because the currency is being debased and what they want is getting pushed further out of reach. The more that they, generally speaking, at least it seems, the more that they have a problem or an aversion to this ideal of capitalism, which is what you want. You want a free market in a capitalistic society.
And to me, like the biggest thing Bitcoin did for me was just provide me with these truth goggles. So because if you denominate in Bitcoin and view the world from that lens, you can see this process happening, and you can see how much they steal. Yeah, you can see how beautiful the world could have been.
Yes,
and how beautiful it is for us in the thing.
Totally.
Like it's such a wonderful, lovely little mind fuck.
Totally. Isn't it? Yeah, it is.
Forget multivitamins and other supplements. Animal organs are the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet. You can get 100 times more nutrients from organs than you can from muscle meats. But the problem with eating organs is that they are difficult to find in stores, they are difficult to prepare, and even when they are prepared well, they often don't taste great. Thankfully, Heart and Soil Supplements has made consuming organ meats so much easier by providing powderized organs in capsule form. Organ meats include everything your body needs to thrive: vitamins, minerals, peptides, proteins, and growth factors. This is why organ meats were the most prized foods for our ancestors. Fortunately for us, Heart and Soil makes these treasured foods easily accessible. So go to heartandsoil.co today and use discount code BREEDLOVE to get started on your journey to optimal health and vitality. Again, that's heartandsoil.co, discount code BREEDLOVE. Would you rather have 1 Bitcoin today or 2 Bitcoin a few years from now? Bitcoin mining is a tried and true strategy for accumulating Bitcoin. Over a 2 to 4 year time frame, successful miners have consistently accumulated more Bitcoin than they otherwise would with a traditional dollar cost average strategy. Blockware mining as a service enables you to start mining Bitcoin from your laptop. Blockware handles everything from securing the miners to sourcing low-cost power to configuring the mining pool. They do it all. Plus, with Blockware's one-of-a-kind mining marketplace, you can buy and sell live Bitcoin miners with just a few keystrokes. In this marketplace, buyers get to purchase live machines at vetted facilities, enabling them to mine with zero lead time. And sellers get the opportunity to liquidate their machines and hosting contracts at will. This means you can mine Bitcoin with zero long-term commitment and high liquidity on your mining rigs. Blockware will even cover your energy bill for 1 week per mining rig when you sign up at mining.blockwaresolutions.com/breedlove. Again, that's 1 free week of Bitcoin mining at mining.blockwaresolutions.com/breedlove. And on top of this offer, you can also use code BREEDLOVE to get $100 off your first mining rig with Blockware Solutions.
Yeah, I've had conversations with people around like, what do you think the most effective way to help orange pill people and whatever. And for me personally, the most impact I've had in the people in my lives isn't by telling them all the reasons why Bitcoin is good or we live in a deflationary world. It's honestly to just be happy and be doing well. When I'm happy and I'm doing well, I find that more people are asking me like, okay, wait a second. So can you explain this Bitcoin thing to me a little bit more? Can you explain like what you're doing and what you would do now? And I'm like, I'd sell all the inferior assets and I'd buy Bitcoin and I would do it today. You know, it's like, it's never too late to do the right thing.
No. And more importantly, accept Bitcoin for your goods and services.
Yes.
And all of these traps, like as much as I love Michael Saylor, I don't agree that people should take on debt to buy Bitcoin. Like I think that's destructive and it's going to ruin a lot of people that can't handle the volatility and stuff.
Yes.
Bitcoin is a tool for getting out of debt, not into it. Like,
yeah.
So, and there's a lot there. everything that was true 10 years ago is true today too. Like, just acquire some and don't sell them for a decade.
Yeah.
Like, and if it takes more than a decade, then hold them for 2 decades then, or 10 decades, 5 generations. Eventually, they will go up in purchasing power. That's inevitable.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people are stuck on unit bias. They think that they've missed the point, or I got to get to 1 Bitcoin, or I can't have 10, so it doesn't. It's like I think about that. It's a kind of like an extension of the scarcity mentality that's been like exacerbated through this Keynesian economic model, and it's like 21 million Bitcoin is enough Bitcoin for infinite people forever. And like, that's really hard to wrap the mind around. Like, it doesn't make a difference whether it's 0.1 Bitcoin, 0.01 Bitcoin, 1,000 Bitcoin. Like, if you can get into Bitcoin and you can delay your need to use it for whatever that duration of time is, you're going to find your economic optionality is going to increase and increase and increase. And at some point, you're going to be able to give the proverbial middle finger to your fiat boss. And it's like, it's so liberating. And it's like, the amount of Bitcoin doesn't matter. When I hear people like, you got to get to 1 Bitcoin for your lineage, your prodigy, or you're missing the boat. It's like, if the thesis stands true and Bitcoin stays decentralized and secure, it will always be the best thing to buy to save your economic energy.
Yeah, of course there are the technical limits. So on chain, like if all 8 billion people get to do X number of Bitcoin transactions on chain per lifetime, and we take it, and if they live on average 80 years, then they all get to do 2 transactions per lifetime.
Interesting.
So that's a very interesting technical limit. So we need layer 2s. We need to build this in layers, and it needs scaling solutions such as Lightning and so on. But even then, like, I don't agree that Bitcoin is for everyone. I think Bitcoin is for anyone.
Okay, I like that.
And I think it's more important to get ethically sound, clever people into Bitcoin than to get your average man on the street into Bitcoin. Okay. And I say that because, like, if you have ethically sound, productive people, intelligent might be the wrong word, but ethically sound, productive people, if you get them into Bitcoin, we all win. Like, the people that are going to change the world anyway, if they get more power. So right now, power funnels into those who can play the fiat game the best.
Yes.
And some of those are very good at providing goods and services for other people. I mean, Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and the likes of those, and Steve Jobs and all of these moguls, like, whatever you may think of them, they have provided a lot of value to a lot of people. Like, Amazon is a great service for all around the world.
Yeah.
It has made stuff cheaper and more easily accessible for almost everyone.
Yeah.
Imagine that if those people had done that in a Bitcoin economy instead of a fiat economy, then you get like the exponential growth of all of these things that could have happened that never happens because of inflation and taxes. Like, it's so good.
Yeah.
I think that's more important because the few people actually change the world for the better in these orders of magnitude bigger steps than your average guy. Your average guy is super important to the economy too, but like for I view Bitcoin in the hands of these innovators and entrepreneurs to be more important than Bitcoin in the hands of your average Joe, because for average Joe, prices will fall anyway. Like, this is the beauty of it. I think Bitcoin just being around is also making the marginal cost of production of everything else go down. just like any other technological innovation like AI. The AI is making the production cost of your smartphone lower. Like,
right.
It's making the production cost of absolutely every product in the world lower, because you can Google Maps has made the production cost of everything lower because you get to your destination faster. Like, I mean, all of these things just imagine how good things could have been in a Bitcoin economy. It's impossible to wrap your head around because there's so many things. Like if you can provide a product and keep 100% of the profits, so you can double the size of the company year by year, you get exponential growth, right? So your company can, 1x, 2x, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 500.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier. If you fold the piece of paper in half,
1,024,
you've heard this.
2,048, 8,192, 16,384.
It's incredible.
Yes. Then if 50% of those profits go to taxes and inflation, you never get to 2. So you never get to see the exponential thing that could have been.
Yeah, exponents is really hard to wrap the mind around. We were talking about this the other day, and I pulled it up because I'd heard this. It's 42 times. You fold a piece of paper in half 42 times, it'll go from here to the moon.
Yeah,
that's mind blowing.
A Jeffism, another Jeffism.
So, do you think we would we have these mega monopolies like Google, Amazon, Facebook, Netflix, whatever? If we didn't have this fiat world, right? If people weren't forced to save in equities, if these companies couldn't use leverage to build distribution centers all over the world, like I kind of think about it like we wouldn't have these mega monopolies on a true Bitcoin standard.
So here's what people don't get about monopolies. They cannot happen without political interventionism. So regulations and artificially low interest rates for the rich, all of those things, that's why monopolies form. On a truly free market, say I have a monopoly on eggs in a region because I have all the chickens. So I'm the only one who can sell eggs.
Right. So you're protecting your large margin.
Yeah. Yes.
Yep.
So does that mean I can set whatever price I want for eggs? No, because people can choose to have bacon for breakfast instead of eggs.
Right.
Or some other crap.
Yeah.
Because eggs and bacon are obviously the best breakfast. But so the reason monopolies cannot happen in a truly free market is that homogeneity is in the eye of the beholder. It's subjective and dynamic, just as every other valuation the human brain does.
Okay.
So what constitutes a homogeneous good to me is not necessarily the same thing as what constitutes a homogeneous good for you.
Right.
So if I like fruit, for instance, then you might like apples and I might like oranges. And so to me, fruit may be the homogeneous good, and to you, it's oranges. Like, So there's no way of telling that. And in a truly free market with damn near perfect sound money, that would be the case. Like, it would be much harder to do interventionism and to set up barriers to entry. Like, you need this much to start a company. You need all this overhead to do accounting and all of the other stuff that the regulators force you to do instead of just do free trade.
Right.
And that's a cost. So that creates monopolies. Like, any barrier to entry to any market is making monopolies more likely and more possible. And you can see this with the lockdowns was a perfect example. Like, you need to shut down your business for a year. Guess what? The little guy goes out of business, and your McDonald's and your Walmarts survive.
Uncle Bezos got to keep delivering products to your doorstep.
Exactly.
But mom and pop with their little hardware store.
And it's the same with
the
regulations are everywhere. I mean, from the shipping industry, I know when there were they forced everyone to put X amount, like 2 life jackets per person on board every single ship. And of course, the big cruise liners and stuff, they can afford that change. So obviously, like the people from those companies lobby for that regulation because it drives out the competition. Yeah. So regulation always favors the big guy, and that's why monopolies form. So the more we can act to reclaim our sovereignty and not give a fuck about these self-proclaimed leaders say that we should do, and just take matters into our own hands, the better the world will be. That's how I see it.
Yeah, and then when you put a inflationary monetary system on top of the fundamentally deflationary world in which we live in, then you're creating all these bad incentives. I'm thinking about like the insulin producers. I could be wrong about the specific facts here, but the point still stands. I think it's 2 companies can produce insulin because of the patent law. So they can protect their margin. Yeah. And if it was a free market and you have this huge margin, then a bunch of people are going to come into that sector of the marketplace. Yeah. They're going to increase the supply relative to the demand, and the value of that good is going to come down rapidly. Yeah. And so it incentivizes people and businesses to exert energy to protect their margins as opposed to go and solve other problems. Yeah. Which is extremely dilutive I don't know. It's stifling our ability to innovate and create abundance.
Which is why intellectual property laws are bullshit.
I totally agree with that.
If no one loses if more than one person has information. I can have the same information as you. And that's also a very interesting aspect about Bitcoin, because you could say, what about Bitcoin then? Should everyone have all the private keys? Yeah, the truth of the matter is, at the end of the day, you don't own your Bitcoin. You just know a secret, and you think it's very plausible that no one else knows that secret.
Yes.
So you can act as if you owned your Bitcoin, but you don't actually own them. It's just 12 magic words.
Yeah. Gosh,
they're in your head. The ability to move them is in your head, and if you do. You assume a couple of things. You assume that there for any foreseeable future there won't be a super majority consensus in the network to change the basics of it. You assume that, but you cannot be 100% sure.
Right.
So Bitcoin may still go to shit. You just think it's very improbable.
Right.
And you also assume that I have this key and I assume no one else has it.
Yes.
Or I know this key and I assume no one else does.
Yes.
So the Bitcoins are 100% your responsibility. They're in your head, and the only thing you have to do is keep a secret from people.
Yes.
Either a password, 12 words, the actual private key, the location of a piece of paper with it, one of those steel plates, doesn't matter. It's all about keeping a secret.
Yeah. That is powerful.
Have you ever wanted to start a business in the Bitcoin space? If so, then the Wolf Startup Accelerator could be for you. Wolf is the first startup accelerator dedicated exclusively to businesses developing in the Bitcoin Lightning Network. 4 times each year, Wolf brings teams from around the world to New York City to work with like-minded entrepreneurs, pushing the boundaries of what's possible with Bitcoin and Lightning. The program is designed to help early-stage companies achieve product-market fit, develop their brand, secure early-stage funding, and grow businesses that fuel the global adoption of Bitcoin. Go to wolfnyc.com to learn more or apply today. Again, that's Wolf, WOLF, nyc.com. Bitcoin custody is evolving. Both self-custody and single third-party custody come with significant risk and trade-offs. Onramp is pioneering a new standard, multi-institution custody, which eliminates single points of failure, adding fault tolerance and redundancy to your setup. Onramp secures your Bitcoin in a segregated cold storage multi-sig vault guarded by 3 independent institutional-grade custodians, none of which that have unilateral control over your assets. More than just security, Onramp simplifies inheritance and estate planning, ensuring your Bitcoin wealth moves seamlessly to your loved ones without the risk and complexities of self-custody. Easily designate beneficiaries right in the Onramp dashboard, eliminating the need for unreliable treasure maps or other complex key-sharing schemes. You can also avoid the probate process and ensure your heirs receive their Bitcoin securely with legal title transfers designed to keep your wealth intact for generations. As Bitcoin continues to appreciate, Onramp helps you seamlessly access financial services, from inheritance and insurance to trading, loans, IRAs, and more, all without compromising on security. And importantly, the onboarding process is fast and frictionless. I set up my own Onramp account, and it was far easier than dealing with hardware wallets or traditional self-custody setups. The team walked me through everything step by step, making sure I had a secure, reliant setup for my Bitcoin wealth. Secure your generational wealth with confidence. Schedule a consultation with the Onramp team today at onrampbitcoin.com/breedlove. Again, that's onrampbitcoin.com/breedlove.
Yeah, when I first, wrapped my mind around the fact that Bitcoin is the first thing that's informational, that's a bearer instrument.
Yeah.
Like that was mind blowing. I think about it when I'm talking with people and I'm trying to explain that to them. I'm like, look, if this was 100,000 years ago and we're caveman or whatever, and I tell you like, yeah, go down to the river and there's this fishing hole, you can get an abundance of food. Well, that's like a data packet. You have that data packet, and now I have that data packet. And everything until Bitcoin that was information had the double spend problem.
Yeah.
And it's really just mind blowing that secret is now those private keys. You can sign a transaction, and I can send you space on the ledger. And I don't know if this is the right way to frame it, but I'm giving you this piece of information. It's going from me to you. And it's no longer mine, now it's yours.
Yeah.
It's really incredible.
When you deep dive philosophically into that and what that implies, it's amazing, because what that means, like the Bitcoin, the protocol is just a language we use to communicate this type of thing, this behavioral thing. But it means that we always had the capacity within us to do this. If human beings had just been honest, we could have had everything would have been so much better. And now we've found a way to be honest where you cannot be dishonest. Like it's a way to communicate truthfully. Like you cannot lie about the private key, because everyone sees through your lie. If it's the wrong 12 words, you can't move the fucking coins.
Yes.
And I swear too much here, but I've had a long day.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I'm grateful you're here. I know that you just flew back from Prague, and you're probably all jet lagged and jumped in to do this. So.
Yeah, but this is so much fun, though.
Yeah, I mean, I love talking about this.
We always had this within us.
Yes.
Like, all you need is love. Probably so. So. It's just this, it unlocked something that was already in humans. Yeah. And it's so simple. Just be a fucking cool dude. Like, don't fuck people over. Don't steal. Like,
totally.
That's all it is.
Yeah. Getting into my 30s, I had this, and I mean, a lot of people talk about this nihilistic feeling where it's like, kind of felt broken inside, where I felt like I was at a disadvantage because I was honest, because I wasn't willing to be aggressive when I did business and create this zero-sum dynamic. This saying where it's like, I've heard this a lot, and this, people that I've done business with in the past, I'm like, yo, what happened? Like, our deal got a little squirrely there. Like, oh, well, it's just business. Well, what do you mean? Like, you're going to screw me over and that's just business? Like, that's not the way it needs to be.
It's horrible.
It's terrible. And I refer to it as the game theoretic fuckness, where if you're honest, you're at a market disadvantage against the sociopath who's capable of lying and stealing and getting away with it. And our whole world seems to be like ran by people who organize things in a fashion so that they can get away with being dishonest.
Except if you're 100% into Bitcoin, because then that doesn't work.
Yes.
If you have 1 foot in shitcoins, 1 foot in fiat, then that still works.
Yes.
You're still incentivized to be an asshole.
Yes.
But if you go 100% Bitcoin, you cannot be an asshole.
Yes. It's like how Bitcoin is this mirror or this like amplifier. It makes you more of whatever you are. And if you're a shitbag, it's like you'll get exposed.
Even if you're a shitbag, like you need all the other crap to fool people with. It's not the Bitcoin that fools you. The Bitcoin is the thing that you're trying to steal from others, right?
Yes.
And it's very hard to steal Bitcoin. So you must, if you intend to get them in dishonest ways, you must figure out dishonest ways to get them, which is why we have diversified crypto portfolios and shitcoins on Bitcoin and all this crap. They are all scams, and they're trying to scam you off your Bitcoin.
Yes.
If you bought a monkey JPEG for more than the sats were worth, you were
yes.
You were an idiot. Like, learn your lesson.
Yeah.
It's just like this when what was that called? Eric Voorhees exchange, where you could instantly swap between different shitcoins. Like just that quote unquote service is there for one reason only:
to get people's Bitcoin.
Yeah, to take them off of you.
Yes,
and it's so obvious.
Yeah, I had somebody call me the other day, and they were asking me a couple questions about Bitcoin. And I was just like, look, I'm in the middle of a lot of things. I'm just going to leave you with this. You need to move forward in your life with this understanding. Everybody is always going to try to get your Bitcoin. And that's going to be through offering you value or tricking you out of it or getting you to buy their crappy coin or whatever it is. And, it's like you need to just think that way. If this is decentralized, insecure, it's scarce. And everybody over time is going to want it. Yeah.
And I guess you could say that, like, if you try to frame me as a scammer, so like I'm writing these books about Bitcoin and promoting Bitcoin on various pods, and so are you. So we are, if you play devil's advocate here for a while and call us the scammers. So like,
okay, let's do it.
Or the only reason you do that is to pump your bags. That's what people say.
Yep.
But what they don't realize is like, but that's true for absolutely everything else too.
Yes.
And if we pump these bags, everyone benefits.
Yeah.
Every single fucking person on earth benefits, and even the non-Bitcoiners, I'd say, because if the Bitcoin economy grows stronger, that's better for absolutely everyone,
including no coiners.
Including no
Every
coiners.
day, another guy wakes up, or a woman or individual, whatever, wakes up and realizes, wait a second, I don't need a 13th apartment building. No. I don't need a 14th extra house. No. I don't need more shares in Apple stock or Tesla or whatever. I need some Bitcoin. And as they stop purchasing these other things, Bitcoin's going up in value, and those other things are falling to their utility value.
Yeah. And the other aspect about pumping our bags is that you and I are incentivized to be absolutely awesome to one another. And you've been absolutely awesome to me every time I met you, and I hope the feeling is mutual.
It is.
Like, because of the simple pump our bags reason.
Bitcoin's a pump scheme.
But that's... what's wrong with that? Like everything's good with that. Like, and that's why it's so fascinating when you meet real Bitcoiners, not the scammers. Like, if you go to these conferences, so some of them are better than others, but there's always a handful of scammers and someone's selling some kind of FUD. But for the most part, with the real Bitcoiners, you have all in this incentive in the world to be good to them, and they have all the incentive in the world to be good to you back. And I've experienced that so many times, and I've tried to live that. The last couple of years when these things clicked, I've just tried to tap into that as much as possible. Collaborating with as many other maxis as I can, and just be helpful to anyone who asks for anything, and I get so much out of it in return. Like, I wouldn't be here if that wasn't the case. Like, to begin with, like,
I second
and it's so beautiful, and I wish more people could experience that. And sure, some of it may have to do with like me being this public figure or whatever in these circles nowadays. But it's equally applicable to absolutely everyone in it. Yeah, everyone can experience that. If you start accepting Bitcoin, you accept Bitcoiners.
Yes,
and it's a great thing, and they accept you.
Yeah,
that's what it is, literally.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to wrap the mind around something that is, in the most effective way possible, serving the interest of the individual, but it's also simultaneously serving the highest interest of the collective. And that is kind of, it seems, and I don't know, it might be wrong, but it seems like this is a first for our civilization where you actually have that.
Yeah.
And that breaks the brain a little bit.
It does, because like the beauty of the free market is competition, right? So free market competition is a win-win game. Everyone in it, it's a win. It's a win for the consumer. There's the two companies compete to make the best product for the lowest price.
Yep.
All consumers win.
Yes.
But in Bitcoin, those companies are, yes, they are in free market competition, so they are incentivized to compete, but they're also incentivized to just collaborate. So that's like free market on steroids. Like we haven't, it's a completely new phenomenon.
Wait, so unpack that a little bit. So let's say we're on a Bitcoin standard. We have no more fiat. The world is operating using Bitcoin. You have two companies that are competing to solve a problem. They're competing for market share.
Yeah.
If one does a better job than the other one and gets the market share, it doesn't necessarily matter because the productivity gains are reflected in the increase in purchasing power in the Bitcoin. And if everybody is using the Bitcoin and we have faster productivity gains, then that's reflected as increase in purchasing power. So does that make sense or something like that?
I think it will become easier for companies and individuals. A company is just a bunch of individuals anyway,
right?
To collaborate and do stuff together. Sure, to put stuff on the market and to compete in the free market, but also you can just do stuff. Like that thought is so powerful. I mean, a company on a Bitcoin standard doesn't have to do any paperwork, really. It could just be a Telegram group or maybe I should say like Nostr group or something instead of to be more hardcore. But at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of people doing stuff together. And that's insanely powerful, even in fiat land. But on a Bitcoin standard, it's without barriers and without any of the negatives.
Yeah.
and if you have a competing firm, I mean, look, for instance, the different hardware wallet companies that are out there, they all benefit from each other's success.
Good point.
This podcast, if my podcast does well, that's good for your podcast.
Yes.
Sure, we're in competition for listeners to a certain extent, but I bet you that if this podcast does well, that benefits my podcast and vice versa. It's not like it's not like, no, we can't interview him because then we're marketing his product. Like we've had Rob on, I've had you on, you've had me on several times here, and we would never say no because of no, he has a competing product. That doesn't make any sense, right?
Yes.
So what if that is true for every single product on the market?
God, it's
sort of like
wild to think about.
What it leads to in my mind, if I extrapolate the thought vectors here, is that almost everything is almost free everywhere, and of super quality, and everyone's just awesome to one another all the time. and that sounds ridiculously utopian, but I think this is vastly underrated or underappreciated. All of these effects are vastly underappreciated.
Yeah.
When we get to that stage, like it's probably far away into the future, very far away into the future, probably more than a handful of generations. But still, just seeing the birth of this and just having those thoughts, it gives me an insane amount of hope for humanity that we are able to just... The pen is now truly mightier than the sword. With communication, we can actually be a stronger force than any weapon because we have the ultimate armor. We have armor that make it unprofitable to try to steal from us.
Yes, that's another one that really is just mind blowing. If you think about the incentive to violence, if you have for all of known time pre 2008, you have something that I want and I kill you, I get it.
Yeah.
Now with Bitcoin, that's not the case. No. That's like really hard to wrap the mind around. So I have a question for you because I have this concern sometimes, and I obviously don't know how to make sense of it. But like I have somewhat of a concern that Bitcoin is going to extend Fiat's runway and could kick the can a little bit further down the road as you got SBRs and these treasuries, and then it's going to be Bitcoin lending. In some sense, it almost seems like it kind of brings some stability. It could get another vector to debase against.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that? Like, do you think, Bitcoin, is it the Trojan horse that's going to take the system down? Is it going to allow us to have a smooth transition, or is it going to extend the runway? Because I'm very idealistic in my views, and I would just like to see a world on a true Bitcoin standard without any derivatives and government issued currencies. And what are your thoughts on that?
The important thing there to remember is that more than 50% of the Bitcoins are in individual hands at the moment. And I wish that more and more individuals would acquire Bitcoin. These strategic reserves, whether it's companies or nation states or some other big institutions acquiring them, they're usually held in custody by a third party, right? So a lot of it might be just paper Bitcoin and prices pumping and all of these fiat games playing on top of this thing. What it does do, every time Bitcoin goes up in value, all of us get more, we become more powerful as a political force and as a commercial force, as a force in general, because we get amplified. Like our power to do stuff in the world goes up because we become more wealthy.
Yes,
it's as simple as that. So all roads lead to Bitcoin in the end. One could put up roadblocks, and I view cryptos and scams and spam as roadblocks. I don't like that nation states and not even corporations have strategic Bitcoin reserves, for the simple reason that Bitcoin is for enemies, but that doesn't mean I like my enemies. The state is still my enemy.
Well said.
The beauty of it is that let's just for argument's sake assume that it is real Bitcoin and not paper Bitcoin. The only way that they can use it is to spend it. They can't bomb another country with it.
Right.
So eventually it gets dispersed and it's good for everyone. But the important thing here is, as Bitcoin goes up in value, as its purchasing power increases, our power increases. We get more political influence. We get more attention. And that's a good thing. We see it play out in real time now. Like we can't do anything about it. We'll just have to sit and see what happens and be happy that we got in before these people.
Yeah, that's a good point.
One of my highest health priorities is keeping my brain in top shape. To take care of my brain power, I do many things, such as striving to read, write, exercise, and meditate daily. One of the latest tools in my brain power toolkit is MindLab Pro. MindLab Pro is a nootropic supplement that is scientifically proven to enhance your brain power. When I take MindLab Pro, my mind feels like it has a better grip on the world, my thinking is more lucid, and the articulation of my speech is radically improved. MindLab Pro has been tested in rigorous, double-blind, placebo-controlled human trials and has been proven to enhance brain power for users in every age group. MindLab Pro is an advanced formulation of 11 nootropic ingredients and is backed by research from over 1,400 human trials conducted over the past 32 years. So if you're looking to enhance your brain power, MindLab Pro is an excellent solution. Go to mindlabpro.com/breedlove to start enhancing your brain power today. Again, that's mindlabpro.com/breedlove. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably get it. You get that Bitcoin upends everything that state-sponsored schools teach us about money. For those who get the importance of Bitcoin, it is important that we have a smart way to buy and hold Bitcoin. My friends at Coinbits, the oldest Bitcoin-only exchange in the United States, have pioneered the concept of roundups, which converts your spare change into Bitcoin. Simply connect your credit or debit cards, and your usual purchases are rounded up to the nearest dollar, letting you stack sats on every purchase without even thinking about it. Coinbits also provides a terrific self-custody experience. Connect a hardware wallet for automatic withdrawals into cold storage to minimize your risk and stay sovereign over your Bitcoin. My favorite Coinbits feature is Coinbits Plus, which gives you the best exchange rate on Bitcoin. It even gives you real-time feedback on how well you are doing on your savings plan. With Coinbits Plus, power users can save more money to buy even more Bitcoin. All that, plus peer-to-peer cash and Bitcoin payments, target orders, price alerts, and more means Coinbits can help you do almost anything you need to do with Bitcoin. So go to coinbits.app/breedlove to sign up today. Again, that is coinbits, BITS.app/breedlove.
Okay, so I want to kind of, like I said, selfishly, I want to learn a little bit more about you and your story. So you wrote the book, Everything. It's Everything Divided by 21 Million, correct?
Yeah.
That's the name of the title.
Yeah.
And so you wrote that, and then what did you write next?
The next one is the Praxeology book, because I wanted to write about something that wasn't Bitcoin. And Praxeology is the science of human action, as the listeners of this show definitely know.
Yes.
So this is my attempt at condensing Mises into 200 pages. And I wrote this 2 years ago, but I've since rewritten it for better readability, and it reads a bit more like a textbook now. And we re-edited it and made it the best we could. Luke helped me edit it after we wrote Clown World last year together. So this is like a beef broth that has been boiling for 2 years.
Okay,
and I
like
think it's better tasting than ever. I'm very proud of it, and I'm turning it into a course. We'll see what happens with it in the future, but I'm going to use it as a basis for a lot of stuff, because I think everyone on Earth should know this stuff. But the reason I wrote it is that a lot of praxeology and Austrian economics is very inaccessible to people. It's intimidating to read human action or man economy and state. Not everyone does that.
Yes.
Which is why there's so much economic illiteracy in the world. And if I can do anything to help people understand economics better or human behavior better, then I feel good about that.
Well, okay, for somebody who doesn't understand praxeology or read Mises, what would be like the short breakdown? How would you explain that to somebody, for people who don't understand? Or, I haven't read Mises. I'm a Bitcoin maxi, and in a lot of ways I've maybe skipped over some of the things that a lot of people have done to get to that thesis or understanding.
Well, I'd say there's so much to learn from the simplest axioms. Like so praxeology is entirely based on statements that you cannot refute, because if you try to refute them, you prove that they are true in the rebuttal.
Okay.
So for instance, the first axiom of praxeology is human action is purposeful behavior.
Yes.
And if you say no, it's not, you do that on purpose.
Right.
Right. And if I and these simple observations leading to these statements can tell you so much about the limits of knowledge in the realm of human action. So it can tell you that it can very define and like put borders around what economics can and cannot teach you. So for instance, if I say you own your own body, you control it, you can argue against that. And in doing so, you need to control and own your own body.
Right.
So, sorry about that. We can get into the whole argumentation ethics of it. Just one example of what this stuff can do. If I argue with you about something, I have implicitly agreed that argumentation is a what's the word? a suitable tool for resolving whatever we're arguing about.
Okay.
So if I choose to not at some point stop arguing and just do what I want by force instead, like for instance, if I argue with a taxman that taxes are theft and he agrees and then chooses to take my stuff anyway,
right,
then it's not an argument. It's not an argument anymore. It's just him bullying me.
Okay.
So it's the limits of what in defining what an argument is, you implicitly accept absolute property rights, which may sound far-fetched, but if you boil these things down to these irrefutable axioms, you can see that that is necessarily true for all arguments that all have ever occurred in between human beings ever.
Yeah.
So and you can get to natural law from the very fact that we've come to agreement that we own our own bodies because we can't argue against that.
Right.
So if we find something in nature, like a nice juicy ribeye steak is suddenly materializes here on the table. So who do we assign as the owner to that ribeye steak? Well, we can do that in three ways. We can say that, okay, Eric is always the owner of everything that ever shows up. He's the benevolent leader and he has the right to everything. He's the king, or I am. That's the first way. The second way is no, it's collectively owned by our entire group. But then a problem arises, like, what's the group?
Right.
How big is the group? Is it the family? Is it the municipality? Is it the country? Is it all of humanity?
Yeah, if everyone owns something, nobody does.
So that's not a good way of assigning who owns the property either. So the natural owner is whoever homesteads it. And homesteading a ribeye steak sounds a little bit strange, but whoever found it first is the legitimate owner. If I find something in nature and make use of it, you cannot argue against it being mine without running into a logical contradiction.
So possession is ownership.
No, possession is not ownership, but homesteading is the first acquisition of property.
Okay.
Possession and ownership, different things. I can be your hat, for this is my favorite example. It's simple. You are the owner of and you are in possession of your hat. If you give your hat to me, just to make the example here,
yes,
I have two choices, and now I'm in possession of it. You're still the legal owner of it.
Right.
You have given it to me under the pretense that you think I will give it back to you at some point. So if you say, Knut, can I have my hat back, please?
Yeah, let's give it a try.
Yeah.
Can I have my hat back?
Now I have two choices.
Yep.
I can say, yes, I'm upholding the contract because I understand natural law and I understand argumentation ethics and I'm not a bad person.
Right.
So here's your hat. I also have the second choice, which is, fuck you, Eric, I'm taking the hat.
Right.
So that's the difference between ownership and possession.
Okay.
And Bitcoin, once again, is one level deeper because it's neither ownership nor possession. It's just owning a secret.
Oh,
it's just knowing a secret.
That's so wild.
So it's even deeper than possession because they live within you. They're part of your brain.
Okay.
But yeah, and this is where natural law comes in. Who's the rightful owner of what? And if in the world today, we have possessions. All of us have possessions. And almost none of them are homesteaded. Like Rob didn't find that painting in nature somewhere.
Right.
You didn't find your phone in nature. These beautiful mic stands weren't found in nature. They are a product of centuries and even tens, even hundreds of thousands of years of free market evolution and theft. They all have... I bet VAT was paid on all of this stuff.
Probably.
Which means there's a portion of theft in it.
Yeah.
This land was probably taken from some native tribe at some point.
Unfortunately, yes.
So historically, everything is a mix between the two, between civilized interactions, i.e. trade,
Yep.
and uncivilized interactions, i.e. violence.
Consensual trade and non-consensual trade.
Consensual means civilized,
Yep.
and non-consensual means barbaric.
Yeah.
So taxes are the price we pay to live in an uncivilized society.
Yes.
Yes. But if we're going to ever come to closer to ANCAP utopia, which is the proper way of seeing the world and the only system, quote unquote, system that can be true and morally valid and ethically valid for all people at all times. That is a trajectory. Like, I don't believe Ancapistan can ever exist, but we can get closer to it by respecting property rights more rather than less. Mm-hmm. And then we have to pick a starting point from who owns what. And there's no better starting point than right now. I cannot come in here and say that I own all of Robert's books and with very much moral authority. Mm-hmm. He still owns them, even though the petrodollar system exists and Europe is fucked because of your central bank. Like,
right. Yeah.
It's not Robert's fault.
Right.
So where do you draw the line? And the line is whatever you own right now is your property.
Yes.
If you own it legitimately. And there's another important aspect of this. If I steal something, if I steal your phone,
yep.
What would happen in fiat land and in politics is that cops would have, like if it works as intended, cops would take me away under gun threat and throw me into prison for being a thief. Mm-hmm. That's theoretically what's supposed to happen in what people mostly refer to as a civilized society.
Right.
Yeah, but who pays the cop's salary? Who pays for my time in prison? Everyone else in that democracy, right? Every taxpayer does.
Yes.
Even though they had nothing to do with the conflict between you and me.
That's a good point.
So there are other crimes being committed just because I committed a crime against you. The state is committing a whole plethora of crimes by stealing from everyone else something that had nothing to do with them. You see what I'm getting at?
I do, yes.
So that's where natural law comes from, and that even the juridical system should be privately run.
Yeah.
And the people should, to the largest extent possible, try to resolve their conflicts without involving the state.
Yes.
Because the state is the biggest perpetrator of all.
So there's a very special place called the farm at Okefenokee. It's a 1,000-acre regenerative farm community about 45 minutes northwest of Jacksonville, Florida. The farm is a completely off-grid community. It has total food, water, and energy independence. Everything on the farm is 100% organic, and it even features wild boar and bear hunting. The farm at Okefenokee is right next to the Okefenokee National Wildlife Refuge, where you can do camping and canoeing tours. So if you're like me and you're interested in the self-sovereign lifestyle, then you can get your own lot on the farm at Okefenokee if you tell them that I sent you. Once you get a lot, you can build one of 3 custom cabin options. So if you value freedom, self-sovereignty, and living in touch with nature, then join me and my family. We have lot number 21, and we're going to be building a cabin there starting December 2025. To learn more about the farm at Okefenokee, go to okefarm.com and make sure to tell them that I sent you.
Yo, if you're a Bitcoiner, you need the Orange Pill app. It's where you connect locally and globally with other sovereign individuals. I use it when I travel to meet Bitcoiners and find meetups. It can also help you find merchants that accept sats. No distractions, no noise, just real Bitcoiners. Download the Orange Pill app today and find your local Bitcoin tribe. So you think in a true free market, in a Bitcoinized world, we're going to have all sorts of, so basically the state apparatus in a lot of ways will dissolve, and we'll have this decentralized kind of world where everything will be handled at the local level by private citizens and private companies, basically. Like I would hire or band together with my neighborhood, and we would hire a local security team.
If you think about it, most things in your life already does. Like every non-violent interaction with another human being is Ancapistan.
Yes.
It's only when you introduce violence or threats of violence that it's not Ancapistan anymore.
Yeah, just kind of thinking about all the people, and I mean, I've been grappling with this myself to a certain degree. It's like, okay, so if we're not paying taxes and we had this anarcho-capitalistic society and like the United States government or all governments across the world fall apart, then wouldn't we organize locally around, and we would probably we would get the most, prudent and responsible and honest and intelligent people, and we would kind of elect those people, and then we would say, okay, we're going to pool together a communal pool of capital, and we're going to make decisions as to what. So you would end up organizing around governing bodies just at the local level.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what a company is.
Good point.
And there's nothing wrong with hierarchies. There's nothing wrong with centralization. As long as it's a free market in a free market system.
Yes,
humans like to form hierarchies, and they like to have a leader. Most people want a boss to tell them what to do.
It's true,
and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing immoral about that.
Yeah.
What's immoral is when people overstep their boundaries and take other people's stuff.
Yes.
So this is leading into the what about the roads question, which is the title of the last of the 3 added chapters to the book. And I view what about the roads as not a question. It's admitting that you have Stockholm syndrome. Because what you're actually saying when you say what about the roads is that you believe that roads couldn't happen without gun violence, without threats of violence. People would. You're effectively saying that people couldn't organize themselves well enough to build roads if they didn't have a gun to their head.
Well, then there's also the response of, well, okay, so what about the one guy who's got plenty of resources but doesn't want to contribute to the communal pot but is going to benefit from the roads? So how do we deal with that societally, where you got the one guy who's like, I don't want to pay, but I'm going to drive on these roads anyways.
Yeah, but right now we have governments that go into debt, national debt, that is forced upon everyone, which is basically stealing from your children.
Yes. To
build roads that, maybe it's unfair to say that no one asked for them, but no one asked for them if you had made the roads, you would probably build them, and you had to pay for them directly. You would probably have built them slightly differently than they're built now, right? So like, I just don't buy that humans cannot organize without violence. There are plenty of big systems that work entirely without violence. The internet being the most obvious example of information highways being built all around the world without a central planner.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. So the example I make in the book is the movie The Shawshank Redemption. Yep. You've seen it, right? Mm-hmm. Famous prison movie, the highest rated movie on IMDb, I believe. It's a great movie, and it's about this guy called Andy Dufresne that is imprisoned for a long time. He realizes somewhere along the way that he's probably never going to be released from this prison. And there are a couple of other inmates. There's one called, my name escapes me now, but there's one 90-year-old prison that gets released on his 90th birthday. And he's out for 2 weeks, and then he kills himself because he's been institutionalized.
Yes. He went and got a job at a grocery store.
Yeah, exactly.
Bagging groceries.
He's super afraid outside these prison walls because he's never been outside them effectively, or not for a very long time. So it drives him to suicide. And Red, played by Morgan Freeman, tells Andy that hope is a dangerous thing because it's false hope, and hope can get you very depressed within Shawshank prison. So it's better to just obey and follow the rules, and you get your 3 meals per day and your routines, and just live with the fact that you're going to be in there forever. But and this story is depressing because he's treated worse and worse, even though he tries to help everyone else inside the prison and help the warden, and the warden just abuses him and blah blah blah, right?
Yeah.
But in the dark, he's been digging this tunnel for over a decade with like a teaspoon.
Yep.
Just a handful of sand every day.
And dropping the rocks out of his pants while he's walking in the prison yard.
And the moral of the story is that hope is the only thing that hope actually did get him out of there. And no matter how big the Shawshank prison walls are, the correct thing to do is always to disobey and have hope.
Yes.
So if you view the state as Shawshank prison, they are going to try to stop you from using your Bitcoins. They are going to put capital gains taxes on it and do all these moronic things. Like a capital gains tax on Bitcoin, by the way, because Bitcoin has a fixed supply.
It's confiscation.
It's confiscation, and it's actually like... your Bitcoins didn't go up in value. Fiat went down in value.
Right.
There was no capital gains. It was productivity gains from people helping one another.
Yes.
That's what it was. It was the free market getting better. It was people doing shit voluntarily and with consent. And a capital gains tax is just, no, you can't have that. Like, it's so brutal.
Oh my goodness.
So the moral of the story is be Andy Dufresne. Hope is a rational choice. Optimism is a rational choice. Don't listen to the black pillars of the world who say that everything's shit and we're going to surveillance state and we're all going to be China at some day and have social credit scores and stuff. It's always correct to live as if the future is bright. Otherwise, the Soviet Union would have never ended. None of it. We're only shackled by our self-proclaimed leaders because we allow them to do so to us. Like so, Ancapistan is a state of mind, not a place. You live that way. Live like put your money where your mouth is. It's a rational choice because you're gonna die anyway.
Yes.
So you might as well live free.
Yes.
Being the lion in the cage, all depressed and gray, instead of being the lion on the savannah, the famous meme, right, with the two lions.
Yep.
Like the rational choice is to be the lion on the savannah, always.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's what I argue for in the book, that optimism is a rational choice.
Yeah, it's really it can be hard for me. You know, one of the reasons that I've taken what is, you know, seemingly an extreme approach towards life or financial strategy, you know, literally I have 100% of my money in Bitcoin and I'm not levered, you know, like I sold some Bitcoin to move here to Miami. That was kind of like a big decision. Like, do I want to just stay here in my quiet little life and sit on my Bitcoin, or am I going to use some of this to fund my life? And it's like, well, I need to live. I need to go after the things that I want in my life. And it's, you know, holding the Bitcoin really helps to recalibrate you in the decisions that you make.
Yeah.
But the thought process that I had is like, I want to see a specific outcome for humanity. Yeah. And I'm willing to take the risk that comes along with supporting this movement. And what's the alternative? To hold a diversified portfolio, you know, like hedge against the world that I want to see. Like, I'm going to buy some XRP just in case.
The option is to
like,
hold.
That's craziness.
The option is to hodl for longer.
Yeah.
And I think like all of us do our part. Like I don't hold it against people that they hodl for generations. Like great for them. I just... For me in my life, I've used some of my stack to kickstart this whole, whatever, if you may call it a career. Like I'm living life on my terms now.
Yeah.
And it feels fucking good.
Yes, I'm with you.
What else is money for if you can't do that?
Yeah.
Because what you get, your legacy to your kids is not just giving them money. It's also setting an example for them. Like, how do you want to live? What do you want to do? Like, what kind of person do you want to be?
Yeah.
Do you want to be Andy Dufresne, or do you want to be the prison warden, or do you want to be one of those scared other prisoners that never got out of there?
Yes.
Like, I know what I want to be.
Yes. You know, I've said at times, like, I'm not using my life to get more Bitcoin. I'm using Bitcoin to get more out of my life.
Yeah.
You know, and I heard someone say one time that most people go, I mean, this is probably Keynesian economic, like, exacerbated by having this inflationary monetary system. But a lot of people are spending their time like it's unlimited and their money like it's limited. And the exact opposite is really the truth. Your ability to procure resources is a lot more unlimited than your ability to get your time back. Your time is finite. Nobody's getting their yesterdays back.
No, it's beautiful.
So if there's something that you want to do in life, I would highly advise that people go after it. You know, and there's a lot of people stacking sats that are like eating top ramen and stuff. That's maybe the kind of a little extreme within the Bitcoin. If you're a maxi, you're probably not eating like top ramen. But like, you know, you have to be careful about the sacrifices that you're making. Yeah. You know, are you not doing things that you want to do because you're trying to stack sats?
You have to be aware of trade-offs. Yes. I think that's the thing. Like the more aware you are of your trade-offs, the better your decision making.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you want to eat ramen and hodl for 10 more years, then good on you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't hold that against anyone. Like, no, at the end of the day, Bitcoin is a tool. Bitcoin is a language, and we can use it to get closer to other people and to live life more on our own terms.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful thing for everyone.
It is. Oh my gosh. I love that. Well, maybe that's a great place to end this.
Yeah, I have.
Do you have anything else you want to add? I mean, I could sit here and talk to you for hours. I know that you just flew halfway across the world and you still have a 3-hour drive ahead of you.
Travel to do.
Yeah.
No, this has been great, Eric. Thank you for inviting me here. And
well, this was my first time interviewing somebody for the show, so I wouldn't consider it so much to be an interview as as maybe just a conversation. I've enjoyed the times that we've crossed paths at the conferences. I think the first time I met you in Madeira, it was in Madeira. It was an honor. So it was an honor to sit here and talk with you. Thank you for sharing your story. And
a pity I couldn't meet Rob, but send my regards.
And you're flying out from Tampa, or yes, probably Tampa, right?
Yeah. Fort Myers. Yeah.
Fort Myers.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm sure he'll get to catch you another time.
Great.
Yes. All right.
Thank you, Eric.
Yes.
And you get to keep this.
Oh, yeah.
Not this, because it's going elsewhere.
Oh, maybe we should, and the editors can cut this in. And then, so how about tell us where we can find you? Where can people buy your books?
Oh, yeah. We should do all
that stuff.
The whole shield stitch.
Yes.
Yeah. So I have 5 books at this point. They're all available at bitcoininfinity.com or Amazon. If you want to use shitty fiat for some reason. I also do the Bitcoin Infinity Academy, which is a thing we started like a couple of months back.
Yep.
Where we there's a video each week of each and every chapter in each and every one of my books. So we've done Sovereignty Through Mathematics already. It was 14 episodes with an opening and a closing episode. Where Luke DeWolf, my co-author for Clown World, he reads the chapter, and then we discuss the ideas in each chapter, and they're also released on Nostr for free. So all of my books are, since I don't believe in intellectual property, they're all out there.
I love
that. And if you want to support us, you can join the Academy and take part in the discussion. So we have a couple of Telegram groups where you can pose questions and eavesdrop on the live recordings. And we also have meetings with the entire group once a month. It's the plan going forward. And right now we're having a bit of a break up until Infinity Day on the 21st of August, where we'll start reading Independence Reimagined, my second book. Other than that, I'm doing the whole conference gauntlet.
Yes.
So after this, I'm going up to Calgary for the Bitcoin Rodeo, going back to Lugano this summer for the Plan B business school, summer school thing. I guess talking about praxeology again. And then going to Riga and Helsinki, BTC Hell. That's a conference I'm helping organize in Helsinki, Finland. And after that, there's a conference in Bulgaria. And then there's the Plan B conference in Lugano. And after that, I think I'll have a bit of a break. But that's the next few months.
Living the Bitcoin life.
Yeah.
I love it. Yes. Well, thank you. I appreciate the conversation. I'm glad that we could get you in here today. So it's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, click here to find more just like it, and here to find our most recent episode. Also, make sure to like this video to help shine light on the corruption of money, and be sure to subscribe to this channel to stay connected.